Hey there, today's video is going to be a bit different than usual. I won't be reviewing a recent update for a battlegrounds game. Instead, I will be explaining the situation with a game I looked at on this channel a while ago. Some of you might recognize it from the background, but if you don't, then today, I am going to explain what has happened to RNG Battlegrounds. In case you don't know what RNG Battlegrounds is, then here is a quick explanation. RNG Battlegrounds takes the main gameplay aspect of all RNG games and mixes it together with a battlegrounds game. This makes a battlegrounds game where you roll for moves and create your own unique moveset. Now, the idea is great, making an RNG game that actually lets you use the stuff you get from rolling. However, the execution of this game was not well. Upon release, the game had around 20 moves, the rarest only being 1 in 4,000. Although you could also roll for armor as well, even though it was only cosmetic. Also, there was an absurd amount of bugs. However, the bugs were pretty minor, and the game was still enjoyable. That is until you rolled everything there was to obtain. Eventually it started growing in popularity, so the developers started working on the first major update. This update released about a month after the initial release of the game. This update added a bunch of new features to the game, such as an ultimate, a wall combo, 6 new moves, and throwable trashcans. But the really only important stuff are the new moves. These new moves changed the game heavily, mainly because they were rarer and more powerful moves, making combos that were very annoying to go up against, but not annoying enough to make you want to stop playing. However, this update was not enough to satisfy the current players, and that's mainly because the new rarest move was not that much higher than the last rarest move, so most people got the new moves very quickly. So pretty much instantly, the developers started working on the next update. Now, this update was extremely important because it both caused the rise and downfall of RNG Battlegrounds. This new update, called the Overpowered Update, introduced many new problems into the game. The update released only 6 days after the first, so it was pretty obvious that it was rushed. But the two main problems were the very many bugs and glitches, as well as overpowered moves that were added to the game. Even though the game had many problems that made it pretty much unfun to play, the player count grew to more than 10 times its normal count, averaging around 2,000 players a day, which is more than some other high-effort battlegrounds games. The main reason the overpowered moves were so, well, overpowered was because of the damage, range, and bugs they had. First example is Spirit Bomb. It did around 50% damage, and if you paired it with Thunder Call, your opponent couldn't do anything to defend against it. Another example is the Hollow Purple move, considering it's one of the rarest moves you'd expect it to be good. However, this move rarely hit, and that's mainly because it took like 15 seconds to fire, and by the time it did, your enemy could have just hid in the safe zone. But if it did hit, then it would cause 2 bugs to happen. The first bug being the Hollow Purple wouldn't despawn. The second bug being anyone who got hit by the Hollow Purple would be paralyzed and were susceptible to being killed easily. Keep in mind that these moves weren't nerfed, and the bugs weren't fixed. Stuff like this dragged the game down a lot, which is why the game was only popular for like a week. Soon it got a third update, which pretty much sealed its fate. The third and final update contained 2 major things. First, the most broken move in the entire game. Second, an immense amount of bugs. The broken move, called Zero, was the first beam move added to the game. It was broken for multiple reasons, but to keep it short, it did around 70% damage, which is almost all your health, and a bug made it so you could use moves during Zero. Of course, these were never fixed or nerfed, causing players to die almost instantly if anyone had this move equipped. So, eventually the game started losing players fast and currently sits at a whopping 5 to 15 players a day. The game had a good run, but ultimately fell due to lack of proper testing of updates before releasing them. It doesn't look like this game will be coming back anytime soon. Well, that's what it felt like, until one of the owners said this. That's right, a full rework of the game. But the people had questions. Would this rework be good? Will there be an absurd amount of bugs? Will the moves be balanced? These were questions we were all wondering, and eventually we got a sneak peek of the new game. Although this sneak is small, you can see the substantial difference between the reworked version and the current version. Soon we got more and more sneak peeks. I won't show them all, because you can just look at them if you join their Discord, which I will link in the description, but it's looking solid. The combat looks way more fluid and less buggy, the effects look more organized and colorful, and the game is looking just way better in general. As of right now, the reworked version isn't out yet, but it will be soon. I do not know if I'll do a video on the reworked version when it releases, but if I do, you'll see a video on it shortly after release. I am very hyped for this rework, and I hope now that the game is properly being balanced and tested that it will regain the popularity it once had. That's all for now. Make sure to subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.